Tell me about PitchMark. What is it?
Well, everybody I come across seems to have had the circumstance where they've had an idea, they've shared the idea, and then whoever they told the idea to made off with it without any recourse. It seems to happen all the time, ranging from management consultants who make suggestions for how companies can improve their operations. The companies just go ahead and implement without hiring the management consultant, through to creatives who come up with new designs, new copy for advertising, all sorts of creative work where once again they pitch their work and then they don't get paid even though the client goes ahead and uses it. And it even extends to things like business plans, where you have budding business people, entrepreneurs, they want to start a business, but the financiers, the investors rarely sign a non-disclosure agreement. So they're out on a limb, presenting all of their ideas, putting forward their valuable concepts, but not getting any money for it, and worse still, the idea or the person they told this idea to then making off with the idea. So PitchMark is all about two things. One, deter, and two, defend. In other words, pitchmarking your documents will deter people from taking your ideas and misappropriating them. And two, even if they do, PitchMark will be there to help defend you.
And how do they defend you?
Well, that's the whole point about pitchmarking your documents. You upload the PowerPoint, PDF, Word documents, whatever it is that contains your valuable idea. And you immediately then download the compressed folder which contains those documents as well as a PitchMark certificate and another piece of information for the recipient. That compressed folder is what you then email across to the recipient, or if it's, let's say, a tender, that is the compressed folder that you upload to the tender site. And by virtue of having the PitchMark certificate and, as I say, containing the various documents, you then have proof of the time and date at which you uploaded those documents. So you can say when precisely you have registered your idea. Let's say, though, that whoever you sent it to then uses your idea without your permission. You can then go back to the PitchMark site, lodge a complaint. There is a reporting form, a very short and simple form that you can complete. It obviously has the various obvious details, your PitchMark certificate number, as well as where you think your idea was used. And then our legal counsel, our legal team, will look at your complaint, will look at the evidence that you've submitted together with your PitchMark certificate, and we'll be able to, in a very short space of time, give you some guidance on where to take that next. It might perhaps lead to a cease and desist letter, it might lead to a phone call by the lawyer, it might lead to a court case, who knows? But at least you know that there is somebody there at PitchMark who's got your interests at heart and who's ready to look at your complaints as soon as you file it.
Okay, so I have an original idea. Why would I use PitchMark when I can go down to Singapore's Intellectual Property Office?
Well, correct. I mean, there are two laws that protect intellectual property. One is copyright law and the other one is patent law. Copyright law, in essence, covers you as soon as you've, say, written a piece of music or composed some, or written some text, let's say. The copyright law applies without you having to go and register for it. The problem is that there is no deterrence effect. Just because you've produced a document doesn't mean that the recipient of that document is automatically going to respect you for it. And so it's a huge grey area if you then want to take action against the recipient, right? Because ideas in and of themselves are not copyrighted. It is the expression of the idea. And it is the expression of the idea which you must formalize by registering with PitchMark. There is the other law, which is patent law. Let's say, for example, you want to register your logo or some other distinctive idea or process or machine or whatever it happens to be. Yes, you can patent these things, but the problem is, one, it takes a long time. Two, it costs a lot of money because you've got to get the lawyer to do it. And three, there's no guarantee that the patent will be awarded. And besides, it's completely impractical to be patenting a sales pitch or patenting, a way to help a small company improve its cash flow if you're, let's say, a management consultant. So there's this huge gap in the law, which in essence means that people have been able to take ideas, change a few details and then claim them as their own. There's no deterrence in there, and there's no formalized process for you to then be able to defend your rights. to that intellectual property. And that's what PitchMark fills. That is the gap that it fills. So as I say, there is no law that protects ideas, but you can't then just say, oh, well, you know, there's no law, therefore I'm just going to let it go. Your ideas are too valuable to just let it go. You have to deter and defend, and PitchMark helps you do that.
Okay, and you talk about cost. How much will it cost me to sign up?
Well, again, legal advice is not cheap. If you were to, let's say, try to patent a process or a concept, it'll cost you several $1,000s, depending on who you go with and depending on the country you're in. Copyright in and of itself doesn't cost anything, but again, the problem is it doesn't deter the recipient from taking your ideas. So rather than hit you up with a big legal bill, our legal counsel will look at your complaint, if you have one, and there's a fixed price for that initial consultation, so you know how much it's going to cost right up front before you even PitchMark the documents. The PitchMark is $149 US, and with that you then have the assurance that the legal counsel will look at your complaint if and when you lodge one. Now, on the other hand, we're also talking to the clients. We're not just saying, you know, it's always the recipient who's at fault. We also want to make sure that we bring the clients on board in this global community, a global movement to protect ideas. And by getting the clients on board, what in essence we want to say to them is, if you are in a position where you routinely, where you regularly receive pitches, you receive proposals, register with PitchMark and you'll be able to use our logo both in your email signature and online, and that should give comfort to vendors and suppliers who might pitch to you. They might see the PitchMark logo and say, okay, I'm comfortable submitting my proposal to this person because they are PitchMark registered.
And are you only providing this service for people living in Singapore or globally?
This is a global issue. And again, think about your own circumstances. Think about what your friends might have said. Ask your friends, have you ever had somebody rip off an idea? And I'm sure you'll find, you know, ranging from webmasters who complain that their web designs were misappropriated through to, as I say, management consultants, creative artists, architects, even people who produce sales proposals which contain significant IP. All of these people all around the world have had these issues to a greater or lesser extent. And there's nothing worse than that sinking feeling when you come across a website or maybe even a billboard, an advertising billboard, and then you recognize your idea on that website or on that billboard. And so once again, PitchMark is there to deter that sort of behavior and defend in case it happens.
Well, that sounds fantastic. How easy is it for someone that's invented something or has an idea to sign up?
Well, actually, the registration process is very simple and it's free. Thereafter, the PitchMarks cost, as I say, $149 but you only pay at the time that you actually upload something. So at the time that you are ready to PitchMark something, you've got all of your documents ready, you've got all of your PowerPoints or PDFs or video files, whatever it is, you've got all of those ready, then you upload. And that's the only point in time that you'll end up paying. And by the way, nobody at the PitchMark side ever looks at your proposals. You can password protect the documents if you wish. Nobody is ever going to touch them because, again, it's in our interest to make sure that you deter and defend. To deter and defend means that the PitchMark certificate shows to the recipient, signals to them very clearly, I care about my IP and I'm prepared to defend it. I care about my ideas because I think they're valuable. And that deterrence lasts for as long as you have the certificate. And incidentally, another question I get is, can I submit the same PitchMark certificate with the same ideas? So in other words, let's say you've come up with a concept or a business plan and you're kind of shopping that around to a few prospective customers or a few prospective investors. Yes, of course, just send the same compressed folder with the same PitchMark certificate. You don't need to re-upload the same documents just to download the compressed folder. Clearly, if the documents within the folder change, then you do need to get a new PitchMark certificate and the recipient will be able to tell whether you've done that or not. But you know, the whole point is that the PitchMark certificate deters and defends for as long as your idea and the PitchMark certificate is in existence.